With that said, life is so unpredictable. You go for a vacation and a terrorist shoots you. You go for a trophy parade and it ends in a stampede. You go in for a flight and it crashes. You're studying in your hostel and the plane falls on you. Yaps. It's in the name. Tragedy has struck, not just my life, but over in India as well. All 242 passengers are believed to have died after an Air India flight crashed near Ahmedabad airport on Thursday. This incident took place when the Air India flight carrying 232 passengers and 10 crew members was taken off for London at 1:17 p.m. The plane was carrying 169 Indians, 53 British nationalists, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian passenger. Heavy smoke was visible from Dupar near Mingnar area in Ahmedabad. The fire brigade has rushed to the spot and the emergency response team are also being mobilized. Authorities have yet to confirm what caused the crash. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Home Minister Amit Shah and Civil Aviation Minister Roma Naidu about the crash. The PM asked the two ministers to go to Ahmedabad and ensure all possible assistance to extend to those affected. I would have liked to have seen Modi go out as well, but I get it. Earlier today, Shah spoke with the Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel for following the crash. The plane slammed into a hostel for doctors of a medical college. Oh no, the plane slammed into a hostel for doctors of a medical college, killing 5 of the future doctors, current students. Visuals from the crash site showed debris had pierced through the wall of the dining area of the hostel with food still visible on the plates. Oh, this breaks my heart. A video of the aircraft flying low and struggling to gain altitude shows the plane slamming to the ground and exploding. Oh my god, I just saw it. We just look over here. I haven't seen the video in full yet. Yeah, that's looking like it's flowing a little too low. You could see that like a manhole coming up from the ground. Here's footage of it from like from the floor. Wow, that's loud and chaotic. Unfortunately, the people who are injured, maybe even worse. Wow, this situation is crazy. Wow. Could you imagine, like, you're in college, you're studying for a test, it's summertime, you may be thinking about, okay, once I eat, I'll study, maybe go out to the pool. Boom! Plane is in your living room. Absolutely. Oh my god. Plane coming out of it, like, full through your house. Oh my lord. Imagine that you're waving goodbye to your loved ones at the airport and you didn't know that this was your last time saying goodbye to them. So true. You never know when it is your time, right? For work, for life. So be kind, put smiles on people's faces. Let your friends know you love them, even if they make fun of you for it. With that said, life is so unpredictable. You go for a vacation and a terrorist shoots you. You go for a trophy parade and it ends in a stampede. You go in for a flight and it crashes. You're studying in your hostel and the plane falls on you. Life is unpredictable. Man, life is so unpredictable.
Where authorities there say a passenger plane has crashed at an airport in Ahmedabad. This video shows heavy black smoke near the airport. Air India has confirmed that it was one of its planes that was traveling to London. We're going to bring in now CNN's Salma Abdelaziz. Salma, what details have you learned so far?
We just received word that there were 242 passengers and crew on board that flight. 242 souls. And when, of course, you look at these images, Adi, that we are looking at of this thick black smoke pluming from the site of the accident, of emergency crews rushing to that scene, it is very difficult to imagine if any of those 242 souls have survived this crash, which happened less than a minute after takeoff at only 625.
Less than a minute after takeoff?
Feet. Of those 242 people on board, 169 are Indian nationals, 53 are British nationals, 1 Canadian national, and 7 are Portuguese nationals. That's according to an Air India statement. The airliner has also set up an emergency services center to provide support to the families and to provide support to those emergency crews on the ground. We've also heard from India's civil aviation minister, who says he is doing his utmost to provide whatever is needed for those rescue workers on the ground. But you look at those scenes again, the charred buildings, the crowds, the residents. You wonder how big the epicenter of damage is when it comes to this plane crash.
Now, like, there's just been so much chaos in the world from terrorist attacks at Polygram to stampedes. We have airplanes crashing into buildings or falling on top of you. Over in America, we have riots in California, my home state of Georgia. Russia and Ukraine are going to war. It looks like in the Middle East we're going to have to evacuate some people. Like, it's being, like, if you're an American diplomat, like, it's suggested that you leave the Middle East. Like, it really does seem like things are lining up and World War III is inevitable.
This plane was also supposed to land here in London at about 6:30 local time at Gatwick. We've heard confirmation from Gatwick that that flight was expected, which means that families on this side could also be asking questions this morning as they try to find out, again, what happened to the 242 people on board that flight. For now, the focus is, of course, on the scene of the crash, where emergency rescue workers are working right now through the rubble, through the charred buildings, through the fires that you're seeing on your screen there. And the other focus, of course, the other epicenter, of course, is going to be this emergency services center that's been set up by Air India. You can expect that family members will be rushing there with questions, with fear, with worry and concern, Adi.
Joining me now to discuss, CNN transportation analyst Mary Schiavo. Mary, first, let's just talk about it taking off and apparently crashing so soon after takeoff. What are you thinking as you hear the early reports about what's happening?
Well, as I hear the early reports, this is 787 Boeing Dreamliner. This will be the first major crash, the first crash of a Dreamliner. And as we can see, there's also some footage floating around out there on the internet. If it's correct, it does appear that the plane was just after takeoff. I don't see any flaps deployed. Now, flaps are like little winglets on the back of the plane, little parts of the wing that help give it lift. And you use those at various parts in the flight. I don't see those deployed. And also, the important clue is that the pilot was able, according to unconfirmed reports, able to get off a mayday call. That means that the pilots knew they had a problem, some kind of a problem on the plane. We don't know yet if it's a mechanical or some other issue, but by being able to communicate that mayday call, we do know that the pilots were having trouble with the plane. So already there are many, many clues, but the explosion that was recorded on some tape that's floating on the internet, unconfirmed, does not look like it would have been a survivable crash.
And we should say we're showing images that we've been able to verify. I caution people out there about what you're seeing on the internet, but the images we're seeing here are incredibly striking. We're having people hand pull away luggage and materials from that crash scene.
Literally, a homie's going over there and like it's Fortnite, just with a pickaxe and just try to get as much resources left out of this plane and try to get into it to see, one, if anyone's hopefully in there surviving and just needs, help.
You mentioned,
two, you never know what loot you could find.
The Dreamliner.
I played a lot of video games. At crash sites, there tends to be some good loot.
What's significant about that? What was significant about this style of plane that draws your attention to it being the first to be in a crash?
See? Whole ass
What's
PC.
significant is it was, when it came on the market, now admittedly several years ago, the newest, it had a lot of features on that aircraft that made the aircraft.
Features like quick landings.
How should we put this? It made the aircraft less susceptible, supposedly, to pilot errors. It had a lot of additional flight assists and other equipment. And of course,
yeah, like quick landing.
People will be thinking immediately about the Boeing crashes of the two 737 and MAX 8 aircraft, not the same as this one. But in the course of that investigation, it was revealed that there was a lot of equipment on that plane that took the control away from the pilots, and that turned out to be deadly. It was called the MCAS, which drove the plane into the ground against the commands of the pilots. Now, from the video that's out there, and what happened is that the aircraft in those crashes pushed the nose down. The pilot pulled it up. up, the plane kept pushing the nose down. I don't see that in the one very short video clip, but some of the equipment is the same, and this is not the same aircraft as those two prior Boeing crashes, but that will put tremendous pressure on Boeing, on the investigators, on the regulators to see if there is any correlation between those crashes and the computer equipment and computer programming on this plane, which is, like I said, the newest, most modern plane of the Boeing fleet.
The last time we had you on CNN this morning, I believe you were talking about the crash in the Potomac, and you were talking about the difficulties created and having a recovery or a rescue scene over water. With this, it looks like it's right in a city. People are pulling some of this debris away from buildings, charred buildings. How do you even begin to investigate something that is in a scene like this?
Crazy when CNN's not doing political stuff. They're asking good questions like how do you even start the cleanup process on something like this?
Well, you know,
besides just one piece at a time.
And they've, sadly, investigators have had to do this hundreds or literally thousands of times. And so what will happen next is literally an international team of investigators. It will be the India's team. They will be the lead investigators because it happened in India. The United States National Transportation Safety Board will attend because it's a Boeing aircraft. So they will be invited into the investigation because the aircraft was made in the United States. And England will be involved, the UK, because there will be many passengers on there, and it was bound for England. So it will be an international group of investigators. But the first thing they do is, of course, try to remove any survivors and, of course, all remains. And then they're going to be looking for those black boxes. This aircraft has the newest, most modern version in the world of black boxes. It will record, hundreds of different settings on the plane. If it was having a mechanical, chances are it will be recorded on the flight data recorder. If the flaps were not set correctly, for example, it will be on the flight data recorder. And the cockpit voice recorder will record whether or not there was a Mayday call and what they were able to say they perceived going wrong with the aircraft when they got the Mayday call out, if that's correct. So the next order of business will be to get those black boxes. Because the plane was American made, they will likely be downloaded. The data will be downloaded in the United States outside of Washington, D.C. There's a lab, but it doesn't have to be. India can do it too. Britain can do it. So those will be the first steps in the investigation, in addition to, of course, identifying and getting the passenger list, the manifest of who all was on board, notifying everybody, and setting up what's called a care team. The airlines are required to have a care team to care for the families, to care for the persons who may have survived, to provide medical care, counseling care, to provide immediate cash support to those families of anyone on the plane to get there, to hear the briefings on the investigation, etc. So there are a lot of moving parts right now.
That's in theory. We'll see if that's actually that's going to actually happen. Right? Do I think that's actually going to happen? They're going to have, like, this airline is going to have a care team that stands and gives people this immediate cash and support? Absolutely not. That's just a PR cover-up.
Most of which are all covered by regulations and by international laws and treaties, because it was an international flight. So it will be rather according to the book, as they say, and those very same laws, regulations, and treaties will require an initial preliminary report within 30 days. So sadly, this will not be the first go-round on these kinds of investigations. We've seen an awful lot lately.
So the person I'm bringing in now, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Joel Rubin, is here to talk more. Joel, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because there were 53 British nationals, but also a Canadian, 7 Portuguese nationals, as well as 169 people from India. That's a lot of families.
A lot of people.
Who are reaching out to whom, and what do diplomats end up doing in these situations?
You got it, Audie. And first of all, what a horrible moment, and thank you for discussing it this morning so extensively. At the State Department, what happens is you have essentially the Operations Center kicks in and creates a task force that begins to mobilize to deal with all these questions. So our Consular Bureau will send a representative to it. The Bureau that handles South Asia will send a representative to it, and they'll begin coordinating with all of the airline infrastructure that's needed to be engaged,
and this is
as well as
from,
foreign
for
governments.
instance, Air India has to have, we heard from Mary Schiavo, a care team for people and families to reach out to. But
this is all about diplomatic communications. I mean, we don't.
Man, communication's nice, but what about the families that are affected? I think they want more than communication. I don't know if they're going to get what they want, which is their loved ones back. Man, this breaks my heart. And if you made it to this point of the video, thank you guys so much. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, please like the video, subscribe. I'm sorry I did not upload yesterday. I got the news that I lost my job. So I'm a little all over the place at the moment. So I'm going to try to bring a smile to someone's face. I'm going to try to make somebody laugh today. And I'm going to go print my resume out and go to a couple different places and hopefully get a new job within, by the end of next week. That is my realistic goal. So wish me luck on that. And I'm going to continue to stream and do YouTube in the free time because I got a lot of it now. I just gotta be at a better spot mentally because right now I don't want to say depressed, but some could call it depressed. I'm just feeling low and I need to feel high again. So with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.